This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
What up, folks? Happy Friday. We've got 2 hours on tap for you here on Money Moves. Jonathan Von Tobel flying solo, Stormy off on her usual jaunt across the country. She's got Utah and K-State this weekend, so look out for her on Saturday. But without her, we got a great show on tap. A lot of great guests, a lot of great topics, and a lot of good nuggets for you as we get ready for a great betting weekend. So let's not waste any more time and get right into it.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is The Rundown.
Now, not because I'm by myself, it makes my job a little bit easier, but because all five of these gentlemen are very smart. Mike Palm, Will Hill, Jason Jarvis, who currently resides in first place in the Circa Friday Football Invitational, 10-1 in his best bets. Jeff Sherman, VP of the Westgate Superbook, to talk a little NBA, as will Zach Cohen, host of Hardwood Handicappers. Five of these gentlemen, all of them, will join us here today as we get many different perspectives on the upcoming weekend of sports. Very much looking forward to talking to Jason Jarvis. He's got Seattle, Tennessee. I don't know what he has. I don't know what he likes. He could come in here and tell me that Seahawks are going to roll. But as we know, if you've listened to us throughout the week, I'm very tempted by the thought of betting the Tennessee Titans this week. Jarvis will talk me off or on to the ledge, if you will, coming up a little bit later in the program. Also on today, it is a Friday, so you know what that means. We, of course, go over our market power ratings for the week. And we've got some interesting little nuggets to get through here when it comes to the market power ratings. We have a new team added to the top of the power ratings. Yeah, we've had the same two, Chiefs and the Eagles, but there is a third new team that has not been up here before. If you've kept track of the betting market, you know exactly who it is. We'll tell you who it is coming up later in the program as we get ready. And some very big downgrades and the gravity of one team pulling one up maybe a little too far up the market power ratings. And last but certainly not least, we begin with last night, the 8 Falls of Buffalo. Nice little play on the documentary. 8 sacks for the Houston Texans of one Josh Allen, and the Buffalo Bills fall last night 23-19 to the Houston Texans. Now, I wanted to come into today and thinking about this last night is how you frame the conversation coming out of that game last night, and it's easy to focus on the negative. I'm a positive guy, though. I think the story from last night has to be the Houston Texans, not only because of the performance, but because of the way the Texans have set themselves up now in the final few weeks of the regular season. But this defensive performance was incredible. The pressure on Allen, 8 sacks, 12 hits, 28 total pressures, 2 interceptions of Allen overall. Buffalo's offensive performance, some numbers behind it, just 4.9 yards per play, 27.1 yards per drive. To give you a little bit of context behind that number, the Jets currently ranked 27th in yards per drive this season at 27.1, so an identical number there. That puts you in the range of the 5th worst offense in the National Football League. The Bills had absolutely nothing. So let's hear from D'Amico Ryans first, because this has been an incredible performance from Houston, not only just this season, but last night, but this season as a whole. They are now on par with some of the best defenses in the NFL. And listen to this answer from Ryans when asked, look, man, you're not just the best defense in the NFL. You're maybe one of the best defenses ever. Here's what he had to say.
The defense is playing outstanding, and it's not just about the defense. I think Tommy has set us up really well with some of the punts he's had to put teams in a backed up territory. Our kickoff team, they've covered well, and they put guys minus 20. So we've had some favorable field positions. It's collectively as a team, like everybody working together. Our guys are doing a good job of getting off on third down, which it limits the amount of plays that you're playing. And then just credit goes to, first and foremost, our defensive line, like for the way they go out, the way those guys relentlessly rush the passer, and everybody on the back end is playing sound and playing together. When we do that, we're tough to move the ball again. So our players are doing an outstanding job.
Outstanding, I think, is kind of underselling what the Texans have been up to this point, despite the fact that their defense is 22nd in expected points added per play, despite the fact that they're 26th in success rate so far this season. This is a team that now not only is 6-5, so has eked out a winning record, but now all of a sudden finds themselves potentially in the driver's seat to control their destiny when it comes to the AFC South. Remember, they still have 2 games left against the Indianapolis Colts. Everything is in front of Houston, despite everything we have seen with the struggles and how bad the offensive line has been and the injury to C.J. Stroud. Somehow, some way, after a win last night, Houston can still get this done in this division, which is why every single time you always talk about this, whether it's baseball, basketball, NFL, There are the reasons why you play all these games. You never want to give up on these teams. And now all of a sudden, despite a hot start for Indianapolis, which will get to the AFC South as a whole, it involves the Jacksonville Jaguars too. But now all of a sudden, the Colts really are in kind of a must-win situation this weekend against Kansas City. But we'll get to that because part of the story from last night as well, and part of this run that the Texans have been on, is Davis Mills. Mills, again, gets a win last night. They're now 3-0 with Davis Mills as their starting quarterback. It has been one where you come in, you're not glamorous, but you're getting it done. Here's what Mills had to say last night about his performance as a starter.
It's been great. I mean, I don't know if I want to reflect too much on it. Middle of the season, we got a long road ahead of us if we want to do what we're capable of and what we're planning to do. But, I mean, just grateful for the opportunity. I come into work every day, love my teammates, love my coaches, and it's fun to get it back out there on the field and do what you love. I mean, I've been dreaming of being in this situation since I started football when I was 6 years old, so every day I'm just kind of living out that childhood dream and going out there and having fun with it.
Texans are now plus 750 over at DraftKings. Again, always shop around to find where you can get some of these potentially better numbers. But plus 750 over at DraftKings, excuse me, to win the AFC South. Jags are plus 425. Colts are still a $3 favorite to win the AFC South. The interesting aspect about this now, as we look at this win for the Texans and where this division might shake out, is the news from yesterday that Daniel Jones has a strained calf and had a limited practice. So now all of a sudden, you've got some questions as to whether or not your starting quarterback is at full health if you're the Indianapolis Colts. And while they're still very much in control of their own destiny, considering where they reside at the top of the division, when you have 2 games against this Texans defense, which, by the way, how about this for a statistic for you? So far on the season, 11 interceptions after last night for the Houston Texans defense, 10 touchdown passes allowed. So dominant this group has been. A lot of it has to do with that pass rush. Secondary has been good as well. But for the Colts, one of the hardest remaining schedules left in the NFL. You're at the Chiefs this weekend. You're home versus the Texans. You have to go to Jacksonville, excuse me, which has been a house of horrors for you throughout this entire, the last 13 or 14 years. Then you look at the rest of the schedule from there. At Seattle, home versus a healthy 49ers team, and then remaining home and away, Jacksonville and Houston. It looks like this is going to be quite the sweat for Indianapolis, despite the fact that they were off to that tremendous start. This is going to be an incredible race because of what Houston has been able to do. But let's now flip this on its head. As we talked a little bit about Houston, let's hear from Buffalo here, because that was an abysmal performance. The offensive line was awful. Here's Sean McDermott on everything we saw from this offensive line and the protection of Josh Allen.
Well, that's how they've built it, right? And that's what you want to be able to do. We've talked about that a lot, right? I think they had 12 hits on Josh, 8 sacks. It's not a healthy formula right there. When they hit their quarterback 12 times, that's I don't like that. I don't like that stat at all. And it's not a healthy way to play or a healthy way to keep our quarterback healthy through the remainder of the season. So that's just not a good formula right there.
It's a big blow to Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills' potential to keep pace with the Patriots in the AFC East. You also look at their remaining schedule, and again, there are some challenges here. And Buffalo right now is in control of a playoff seed. It's not unrealistic, though, to think that Buffalo could find itself on some thin ice when it comes to the playoffs in the AFC East as a whole. At the Pittsburgh Steelers, coming up at the end of the month after this little break from Thursday Night Football. A Bengals team which seems, and we'll get to them momentarily, at the very least, it looks like you are almost guaranteed that Joe Burrow will be back week 14 if he doesn't play this weekend for Cincinnati. You've got a road game against New England. That Browns defense has been absolutely tremendous and pushed Baltimore to the brink. You've got to host Philadelphia before you round up with the New York Jets. You talk about catastrophic losses, games that you should not lose. These 2 out of the last 3 weeks, to lose to the Miami Dolphins, then to go on a Thursday after that performance against Tampa Bay where it looked like your offense had been fixed, everything had been great, and then to lose this game against the Houston Texans. This team has now put itself in a position where overall, the Patriots in the AFC East, minus 425 favorites with one of the easiest schedules, actually the easiest schedule left in the NFL, historically easy schedule. And for a TA division like the AFC South, Mitch Moss and I discussed this a couple of weeks back on Pod to the Futures. Download it wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you very much. Where it's, hey, we're probably assuming the AFC South now just has one team coming out of it, and this was a few weeks ago, and that would be the division winner, most likely the Indianapolis Colts. But at this point right now, with Houston getting the head-to-head win over Buffalo and Jacksonville being positioned the way that they are, you could be in a scenario where, how about this, not only Buffalo, But Baltimore and Kansas City, all three of these teams are on the outside looking in of the AFC playoff picture, when all of the assumptions before the season started, obviously, was going to be which of these trio, as well as the Cincinnati Bengals, was going to be able to make it out. Excuse me, got a frog in the throat. That is going to be something incredible to watch here for Buffalo as we move forward. And as far as we look for this team as a whole, the schedule is going to get harder. So let's hit really quickly some of the news of the day as well. This is what we're going to be monitoring, which is, of course, Cincinnati, and whether or not Joe Flacco or Joe Burrow will start this weekend. We did play the clip yesterday of Zach Taylor kind of bouncing back and forth between whether or not the two Joes would start, who it would be. Well, Joe Burrow has officially been added to the injury report as questionable. So we will see whether or not Burrow can make it out there this weekend. The market seemed to be moving in the direction of Cincinnati here with the belief that Burrow was going to be available. And I know they're playing some games, and Rappaport had a report earlier today that maybe they're leaning a little bit more toward Joe Burrow sitting this game and then getting him ready for the next week. Depends on his comfort. But if not now, when? It's been a theme in the NBA, and I think it's a theme this weekend for the Cincinnati Bengals, which is, man, you have to get this done now. You have no margin for error. You've won one game since he's been gone. This is going to be a game where if you can grab this victory, you are very much on the path to at least pushing for one of these playoff spots. We'll see if we get an official word before kickoff. All right, when we come back, Mike Palm's going to join us, VP of Ops here. Had a great week last week when he was with us. Let's see if we can keep it rolling here on Money Moves.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
It is a Friday. You know what that means. We have the man, the myth, the legend, VP of Operations here at Circa, the D, Golden Gate. Mike Palm is with us here today. How you doing, sir?
Good, John. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm feeling great. Although all of a sudden now, because of this is how it works in our industry, the second the camera went on, my throat is seized up. And so
Of course.
Now, of
Well,
course.
why wouldn't it?
Yeah, especially when I'm by myself. But
Never
outside of that, I'm
happened at
feeling great.
Starbucks. You didn't have any of those moments at Starbucks.
No, not at all, because I could just go to the bar and then just make drinks, which is, again, my only professional background that I have. All right, so we have a lot to get to with you. Last week, pretty good operation outside of, I know you don't want to talk about it too much, but it does impact what we were seeing. Big picture here. Excuse me. See, there it is. With Alabama and Oklahoma, that loss and now what it means for Oklahoma in the CFP.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Washington, D.C. Monday and Tuesday for the American Gaming Association board meeting, which made headlines because two of the members bowed out. Anyhow, one of the members of the executive committee and a guy I've become pretty good friends with is Bill Lance, who's the head of the Chickasaw Nation in Oklahoma. He's a University of Oklahoma graduate. So he's so excited. They're 8 in the poll. Notre Dame's 9. He wants to invite my family and I down for that first-round matchup. As you know, things could change, Bill.
Yeah, of course.
But what a hell of a first-round matchup that would be, Notre Dame at Oklahoma. I said, you might be a home dog, Bill, but I'd love to go down there for that game. Look, Mateer looked better than he's looked since he had a hand injury. Let's be honest about that. He played much better, and Venables can still coach defense. I thought they were the third best defense in the country coming in this year, and then I watched Mississippi run all over them in Norman in a rainstorm, and I said maybe they weren't that good. But they made Simpson look bad, and they're very good with a lead in the second half in games because of that defense. And so, you know, they have to beat Missouri and beat LSU. They're in the playoff from a team that was going to be out of it. I'll tell you what's an elimination game this week is USC, and Oregon cannot get in if they lose this game. That all they have is a win at Iowa, who's a 4-loss team, and maybe 5 if they lose to Nebraska.
So I asked. So Stormy was bringing this up. She wanted to play the thought of USC on the money line is essentially a play on USC to make the playoff. You obviously still have to beat UCLA. The price for them to make the playoff is about 4-1. But judging by the look-ahead line, if you play the money line here and roll it over, you're getting like plus 430 as a plus to 4-1 for USC. I mean, I think they're live here to win this game. I'm with her in the track.
I took 9.5. My concern is that the Oregon ground game will push them around.
Sure,
and that's my concern because Oregon's ground game is what's really impressive, and they were able to run the ball on Iowa in that bad weather in Iowa City. and I think you can run the ball on. Iowa ran the ball on USC for a half at least.
Yep.
But I think this is just an out of control line. I mean, I thought it should be a touchdown. I said to Stormy when it was 8, I like 8, and it's 9.5. I mean, this kid Lemon really impressed me in watching that Iowa USC game. It felt like I thought it would. They wouldn't cover the number, but they'd win the game against Iowa. And they were down 21-10 at that
Did you
point.
see? Wow, why am I blanking on our head coach's name for USC? Lincoln Riley. Yeah, I don't know where that come from. Did you see Riley's comments about his team afterward?
I did not.
Old USC teams, they would have buckled. We would have lost that game. These guys,
Really?
These guys, they get it. They understand.
What old USC teams?
Yeah, I guess the previous USC teams, he thinks
in the 40s. I mean, what?
No, I mean he means under his regime. His last few years, they would have lost that game. These guys, they kind of understand.
I don't know. I mean, Iowa got very conservative in the second half. Like 3rd and 2 at the 50. You better figure out you're going to go 2-play. You can't just punt 5 times to USC in the second. You just can't do it.
Can't keep
right?
giving them bites at the apple. Yep.
You just can't keep giving them the ball. So I do think it's a 1-score game at Outson, but I think the Oregon running game will be the difference. But if they lose, they have zero argument to be in the playoff.
Do you like anything else this weekend?
I think I like the Packers.
Okay.
Laying 6 against the Vikings. I went back and watched that tape. He's awful, McCarthy.
9, you mean? Yes.
The
Wolf alter ego?
He can't throw the ball to these guys. He's missing them so bad. From my sources say, the receiver room is tough there. And this week in practice, KOC's working with him on footwork. I mean, we're NFL quarterbacks, guys. I mean, this is what I know they wanted May. They offered 3 first rounds to New England. New England said, no, we're taking May. You can't offer us anything.
Yeah.
Right? You can't offer us anything. And so far, that's been exactly right. But, they put all their eggs in one basket. Maybe they should have told Daniel Jones, you're going to be the starter, and we're going to let JJ learn behind you, since he couldn't really learn when he wasn't on the field all last year. He was hurt.
Sure.
He couldn't get reps in practice, right? So I get it. I get it that they decided Darnold's not taking him to a Super Bowl, that in the big moments he came up short.
Right.
And he did, and we'll see what happens this year with Seattle, right? I do say I love the way McDonald coached that game. He took the points every single time, and that's why they had a chance to win that game.
Yep.
They should keep a stat, John, in wasted points when teams go for touchdowns and give up threes.
Sure.
And you could keep it cumulatively when they go for it and score a touchdown. It's +4, it's -3.
Yeah.
I think they should do that for each team and see where they end up on the scale.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, to your point, there were a couple of times where I was like, come on, Mike, do you want to get aggressive here? But as poorly as they played.
Kept them in. They had a shot to win that game. With Darnold with the interceptions, what really killed them.
Your quarterback throws 4 picks, and your kicker's lining up for a game-winning field goal. It's a pretty good way to look at it here. All right, Green Bay 2, 6.5 across the board. Totals 41.5. I do have to ask you, because there's some big games this weekend. It's actually a really good weekend again. We're starting to get some really important ones. You mentioned Daniel Jones. What do you think my Colts have here on the road? Kansas City, I just said
down
it.
to 3 in some spots,
Yes, and I just said it right before you came in here. We're looking at a reality where Baltimore, Buffalo, and Kansas City could be on the outside looking in the AFC playoffs.
I watched the game last night, and I know we're going to have all the talk about organizational malpractice to not at least get to a Super Bowl in the Josh Allen era, right? And the window's closing. And all I can think about is, how about Edmonton? With Draisaitl and McDavid, and I know you got to a Cup final, and I know you got to Game 7, but they're 30th in 5-on-5 defensively. I mean, they've never addressed this. Why don't go get Bennington, give him a fresh start? Anyhow, we'll get back to your question. Is it a changing of the guard in the AFC? I was shocked that Kansas City lost at Denver. I was in no interest in laying 4, but I thought they would win that game. They still have a manageable schedule after the Colts.
Yes.
I like the Colts are off a bye. They've had time to prepare for this Kansas City defense. They're not going to turn the ball over 5 times like they did in Pittsburgh, or 6 times, whatever that was, right? I guess the numbers move in the right way. Now that it's down to 3, I don't have any interest in the Colts, but north of 3, I did.
It's a faux must win, because they still have 2 games against the Houston Texans. And this Texans team, this is incredible, their defense. So they're keeping themselves in it. They're 6-5 with 2 games against the division leader left.
Mitch asked me, was it Mitch or was Dave Ross asked me, was it a bigger game for last night, the Bills or the Texans? I said, the Texans can be a dangerous playoff team, but they got to get there, right? So it's a huge game for the Texans, because at some point Stroud's going to be healthy, won't he?
Yes, I mean, you would assume. And the way Davis Mills has played in 2 of the 3 games he started. It's not bad. All right, Mike Palm with us here. Before we get to hockey or anything you have there, anything college hoops? Last time you were with us, you had a pretty good play on USC.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what game I'm looking forward to? It's a great week next week, right?
Yep.
And I know Humans is lamenting the demise of the Maui.
Well, he's in the Bahamas, isn't he?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Even sad about Maui, but this thing in Palm Springs next week. What is it, Acrisure, whatever that is?
Yep.
Mississippi and Iowa. I think it's going to be a heck of a game. I know I'm no number out on it yet. I love what Chris Beard did. Did you see where he brought his 5 starters up to the podium for the presser afterwards and said, these are the 5 guys that just beat Austin Peay by 7. You got any questions for him? He was very upset with his team getting out-rebounded by Austin Peay.
That's pretty good.
I love Beard. We wouldn't pay him here in Las Vegas, but
well, we tried.
I did take a little piece of Arizona at 19-1 to win it all.
Dude,
it's a mentally tough team. Now, they can't shoot the 3. That's my problem.
Yep.
They're not a good 3-point shooting team, and Tommy Boy Lloyd's going to have to prove it to me in the tournament. But you go up there to UConn and out-rebound them by 20?
Yep.
This isn't the mental toughness we haven't seen since Lute Olson with this program.
They're so good in transition. Yeah. Their rim pressure is awesome. If that 5-star kid they have in the backcourt kind of starts to figure things out, and you have plenty of time, like just get to the end of the year, develop him, because he looks like he could be that like 3-level scorer like you're talking about. They're not the greatest 3-point shooting team, but if you get a creator like that gets comfortable by the time you get to the end of the year, they're awesome.
Are you concerned about Kentucky, the way that Michigan State just absolutely trounced them in the
when
Madison?
We talked about this the other night, when you watch that game, that was like lazy defense. That was, you're missing guys on back cuts. You're letting them run baseline to open threes in the opposite corner. You're getting out rebounded offensive boards. That was like effort. That was weird.
Everybody says what a great hire Pope was. He got upset every first round when he ended the NCAA tournament. Another one. Prove it to me in March.
Yep. No, I think that was pretty shocking given the effort away and what the preseason expectations were with us. Mike Palm again here with us. All right, before we get you out of here, anything in hockey?
I played the under in the Kings and Bruins tonight. Swayman's playing really well. And now I don't know if you caught the news earlier this morning. Hellebuck out 4 to 6 weeks, but he's probably back first of the year. I wonder if Swayman gets his way into the mix for America in the goaltending at the Olympics.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe Hellebuck isn't 100%, but that's February. But we'll see. But I wanted to play under the other night, but then Hellebuck didn't start at Anaheim. So this Boston team was supposed to be a rebuilding year. It's so far so good for them, and Swayman's playing great.
All right, folks, remember, if you want to come down and say what's up to Mike, by the way, and enjoy this wonderful property, VSiN and Circa got you covered. Right now, the first 100 new VSiN Pro annual subscribers who sign up using the promo code CIRCA are going to receive a free 3-night stay at Circa Resort and Casino January 2nd through the 5th, plus a day bet at Stadium Swim during the final weekend of the NFL regular season. You're also going to save 50% off monthly price, get full year of VSiN Pro, the best bets, the betting splits, the tools, and more. Don't miss out on your shot. VSiN.com/Circa, promo code CIRCA. Thank you,
We
sir.
had 2 people booked this already.
Hell yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Let's get that number up. Come on now, folks. Check it out again. VSiN.com/Circa. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Big thanks to Mike Palm, who joined us earlier. If you missed out on any part of it, you can go to VSiN.com or check out wherever you get your podcast, Money Moves. Download, like, rate, review, subscribe. One of the plays that Mike shared with us, USC, taking on Oregon, likes the Trojans in that spot. With that, we welcome in our next guest on the Progressive Guest Line, Will Hill, who joins us at this time on Fridays every single week. I, too, like the Trojans here, catching now 10. Will you make it a triumvirate? Will you put your hand in the middle with me and Mike Palm and say Trojans on 3? 1, 2, 3.
You're talking me into it. You're getting me close. Can you tell me how USC is going to get stops? I just have fear that USC is going to get run over here literally by this Oregon ground game. And I think, if anything, I do think it's too many points. I thought it would be closer to 7. I think it should be closer to 7. But like we know the deal with Lincoln Riley and USC. They haven't traveled well. Mayava hasn't played well on the road. And I just don't know if they get stops. I think I like the over more than anything. I do like the over more than anything. 59 and a half. Because I do think Oregon is gettable in the passing game. They haven't played a lot of good passing offenses. Indiana got them pretty good through the air. The other teams they play week in, week out, Minnesota and Iowa, some of these teams are just not going to test you through the air. So if you think USC is live in this game, and forget the 10 for a second, if you think USC is live in this game, how many points do they need to score to win this game? It probably going to be in the 30s and probably in the high 30s. The reason I want to take USC, even though, I'm poking holes in them. I'm not a believer in more. I'm not a complete believer in Oregon. So I like the over. I lean towards USC. What are you thinking? Like, I don't know, 34-27 type of game. What is your take on this game? Because I haven't heard it.
Yeah, I think that sounds about fair. I actually think USC can pull this off. One of the things that I have been trying maybe to convince myself of that I would like to test this theory with you, because I hear everything when it comes to the road struggles and Maiyava. I mean, trust me, I covered in depth Maiyava's last season here at UNLV. I've seen the guy up close. He's very talented, but we've seen the struggles. Having said that, I think a lot of the road issues for USC, is it not fair to say, Will, stem from Big Ten play, which has been these weird trips out to the Midwest, playing late one Saturday and going out and getting a 9 a.m. kick the next Saturday against Illinois, going out to play Purdue in some weird weather. So I think my whole premise here would be, while the road issues have been there, I think this is a far different road trip than having to make a long trek out to the Midwest in some of these true Big Ten environments.
Very fair. In Illinois, obviously, they were beat up, and that was a tough spot for a lot of different reasons. So I'm with you. And you throw in the weather. You mentioned the weather. That's another reason I think to like the over, because both these teams have played in some shaky weather recently. Oregon had the game recently was against Wisconsin. USC played the game with some shaky weather recently. I think it was.
I mean, Iowa was a week or two ago. Close.
The Iowa game was in the rain.
I mean,
yeah.
Yep,
absolutely. One last thing on this. Remember, USC does usually, when they win the toss, choose to take the ball. So I think you can get USC plus 3.5 in the first quarter for a team with a good offense, for a team that starts with the ball. Plus 3.5 in the first quarter is pretty good. But basically, if you score a touchdown, you're going to be hard to not cover that number.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about college football. Then we'll start here since we opened the program with it. Missouri on the road against Oklahoma. OU about a 6.5-point favorite across the board. Total's pretty low, 42.5 or 43. What are we looking at here? Oklahoma wins and they solidify potentially their spot. They just got to win out, and they're probably in the college football playoff. What do you say?
Yeah, they win out. They're going to be in. I like Missouri. I bet Missouri. I gave it out earlier in the week. I mean, the numbers do matter, and you could have gotten 9.5 or 10. Now you're getting 6.5. You're certainly not getting the best of it, but I don't like Oklahoma. If anything, I would still bet Missouri, just because if you look at Oklahoma last week, when I had them against Bama, but look at the box score. They got doubled in terms of yardage. They got 7 points off a pick six, a long pick six too, where Bama was about to score, and then it went the other way, and then Bama fumbled the punt. So 4 yards per play on offense. They don't really do much. The only concern I have for Missouri here, a one-dimensional offense, if Purdue can't go and if they can't throw against Oklahoma, I don't know how that's going to go, but I just see like an ugly, close, low-scoring 23-20 type of game. Missouri's got a lot of traits you like in an underdog. You can run the ball, and they can play defense, which I think are two keys to keeping a game close, obviously. So to me, 23-20, 24-20, that kind of game, I think Oklahoma probably prevails, but I do like to get in the points here.
All right, what about Florida? There's a lot of interesting spots here this week overall. You get these teams like Florida that really don't have much to play for, but can at least cause some damage. Tennessee, a 4-point favorite on the road, total of 57.
Yeah, I like Florida here. I just think this is too many points. There's a discrepancy with the strength of schedule. Florida's played the number one toughest strength of schedule here in the country. Tennessee, I still don't think is great defensively. I still don't think is great, from a quarterback perspective. And Florida is going to be home, rivalry game, motivated. If they were going to cash in the chips and call it a season here, they would have seen that last week against Ole Miss. I think Florida keeps it close. I think it's a field goal.
All right, Will Hill with us. You can follow him up on Twitter at @NotTheWillHill. Are you going to reconnect with him, or do you want to keep it going? All right, we'll reconnect with Will. All right, plays so far in college football for Will as we're going over it. Missouri plus 6.5. Florida plus 4. We're going to transition over to the National Football League with Will when we reconnect, as he's got a trio of plays, including, again, this is going to be the theme throughout the day here so far, whether or not this Titans team is going to be live. And I would guess that Will does not think that the Tennessee Titans are going to be live this weekend. As looking at some of his plays, he does have an angle on Tennessee. A couple of updates for you as well, as we do have some college basketball that is currently underway. As Will noted, because we're in the holiday week, essentially, we do have a lot of day games going on. One of the games of note that I've been tracking, because the Mountain West has not been great, Utah State up 75-59 over Tulane. We'll give you the reasons why I'm tracking that coming up in a couple of minutes. But Will's back with us. Let's get to the National Football League. Will, this is the game that has been front and center for me, and I am very interested in your thoughts here. I am tempted to come in and say, you know what? Seahawks let down, big loss. That's a big number on the road. Let's go Tennessee. But what are you going to do here?
I like the Titans team total under. I agree with your line of thinking. I was also tempted by that, but I've just been burned so many times by the Titans. I can't do it. I do worry that from a just narrative standpoint, we've seen Darnold spiral. Last year, bad game against the Lions with a chance to get the 1 seed in the division. He didn't get out of that funk. He played just as bad the next week against the Rams. That being said, how do the Titans move the ball here? How do they score? Outside of Darnold turning it over and setting up short fields, things like that, Tennessee sustaining drives, I just don't see happening. This is a total mismatch, their offense versus the Seahawks defense. So maybe Tennessee hangs around and covers and wins. What could be one where we both get home if you like this, like 20-7, something like that, 23-10. Maybe Tennessee covers, but I think under 13.5 team total is a good play based on the matchup.
Yeah, that's what I keep going back to is I feel like if I'm asking them to stay inside of this number, I'm asking for another Darnold-esque game like that. And I don't know if it's realistic to ask that question. And Seattle's been very good in every facet, especially in a lot of these blowouts. You go back to it, their special teams has done a ton of damage to these lesser opponents, and this could be another one where you have it there. All right, another big underdog, Jets taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Do you think the Jets can be live this weekend?
I like the Jets plus the points. Being live in terms of winning the game, I'm not sure, but this is almost hard to believe. I keep double checking this. We're almost at Thanksgiving. The Jets have one takeaway. They haven't recovered, or they've recovered one fumble. They haven't gotten an interception. Their fumble luck has been awful, and I just think it's too many points. You look at Lamar. He's not running, and if he's not running and he's missed practice on Wednesday with an ankle, he missed practice last week with a knee. If he's not running, he's not the same player. 10 yards rushing last week. I think 14 or so the first game back against the Dolphins. He had a little more a couple weeks ago against Minnesota. But if he's not going to be taking off and running at any point, and just you don't have that element of his game, I just don't see here how the Ravens pull away. I think 13.5 is too many. The Jets, still playing hard. They were competitive last week against the Patriots. So it's just hard for me to get to this number 13.5. Of course, anytime you take the Jets on the road against the Ravens, could this be 34-10 and looks bad? Of course, but I just think this number is inflated here. I'll take the Jets. Got to get some turnovers eventually.
So we've monitored the head-to-head between you and I in terms of these NFL sides. We haven't. But we haven't monitored the sides we're the same on, because I'm with you here. Steelers are catching 2.5 against the Chicago Bears. I think we do well when we both like a side, but what do you make of what the Steelers have in front of them? I'd love to hear your thought process on this.
Yeah, you just always win no matter what. Whether I'm against you, whether I'm with you, you just win no matter what. DJ Khaled. I like the Steelers. To me, this is the Spider-Man meme where they're both pointing at each other, where both these teams have overachieved based on their stats. The Bears, I can't get past, though. 22 takeaways, only 6 turnovers, plus 16 turnover margin, negative scoring margin.
Yep.
Look, in a game where kickers are going to be important, the Steelers have the better one. I don't know, like an ugly 21-20 type of game. I just think these are dead even teams. I'm looking to fade the Bears, who are due for some regression here. Bears remember that Minnesota team 3 years ago that just broke every rule, was outlier in every sense of the way? That's kind of what the Bears are so far. Completely lucky, fortunate with all these different categories. So I'll take the points here with the Steelers in what's basically a toss-up game.
Yep. If you need an example of a team that probably shouldn't have the record that they do, look no further than the Chicago Bears, that despite the fact that they have 7 wins, have a negative 6-point differential, which is absolutely incredible. Amazing. Will, good to talk to you as always, bud. Thank you very much. Good luck this weekend.
All right. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Hey, folks, as the official horse racing partner of VSiN, First Bet is built for bettors who demand more, and I know that's you. First Bet isn't just about placing a bet. It's about helping bettors of all levels with proprietary AI handicapping tools that provide data-driven insights to help make smarter bets. First Bet's in-app tools give you win, place, and show probabilities for each runner, so you can quickly and easily identify good value plays and improve your ROI. Right now, you can take advantage of their limited time $250 sign-up offer. Claim your bonus. Use promo code VSiN250 when you sign up at the First Bet app or at firstbet.com. Promo code VSiN250. Jason Jarvis joins us next.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
It is a Friday, and you know what that means here at the Vegas Stats and Information Network. The Circa Friday Football Invitational rolls on. Now the architect of the contest out in the Bahamas, but still the contest resumes. And we have with us now on the Progressive guest line the first placed handicapper. Jason Jarvis is with us. 51 points, 46-31 is the record. 10-1, though, most importantly, on best bets. Jason, we appreciate it. Second time here in the last month or so. How are you feeling at the top of the standings? And you continue to churn out this pace with the best bets. This process has been working for you. What's the mentality like?
Yeah, no, appreciate you having me, Mr. Von Tobel. I'm excited to be in first, but it just means everyone else is gunning for you. So gotta stay hot.
That is the goal. We do have already, and we're in for those who don't know in the format, we have entered the knockout portion of the competition. So Paul Bovey, Brett McMurphy, Jim Feist, Jeff Whitelaw, Doug Kazarian, Jeff Petch all have been eliminated. Some on the cutting room floor right now are right at the cut line. Randy McKay, Chris Zinuk, and Weston Stratman all sitting at about 39 or 38 points apiece. So a big week for those gentlemen. But let's hit some of the games that you're looking at here, Jason. And I've been telling our audience this a couple of times now, so we have to get this out of the way. I have a morbid curiosity for Seattle and Tennessee. I have no idea where you're going to go with this one, so I'd love to hear your thoughts. We're starting to see some 13.5s disappear. 13, the predominant number, total of 40.5. How do we look at Seattle and Tennessee this weekend?
Yeah, so are you nuts? I heard you mention at the start of the show you wanted to bet Tennessee this week. You meant the Volunteers, right?
No, let's go. Titans. I'm a big Cam Ward guy.
I hear you. Now, you must be a glutton for punishment, and I'm messing with you because misery must love company. I'll be on the Titans again this week. I had them last week against the Texans. They got the cover there. Let's be honest here. The Titans are horrible. If I'm being generous, we could say their defense is close to mediocre, and I think that's a big part because Jeffrey Simmons is a handful. But for me, this is really a situational play against the Seahawks. They're coming off a heartbreaking loss to their division rival in the Rams. They missed a potential game-winning field goal in the final seconds, a game that, is kind of surprising they even covered, given that Darno is picked off 4 times. And that's really been the Achilles heel for Seattle this year has been ball protection. So, now here they are traveling cross-country for an early start. And in full disclosure, I'm not even one of those big West East Coast travel guys. I'm not sure how much of an impact that makes, but what I do think will be impactful is that they're going to play the worst team in the NFL. So I grabbed 14 a few days ago. This game is going to go one of two ways. Seattle's going to come in here and win a game 38-6, which is certainly possible. But my money's on a slow start for the Seahawks. I'll tell you this. I still have them available in my Lone Circa Survivor contest, and I do not think I'll be using them. We've only seen one double-digit dog win outright this year, if memory serves correct. I think that was Carolina going into Green Bay. And I'm not saying the Titans are going to win this game and shock the world, but I think that there's a better chance that this could be more of a sweat than anyone thinks. I guess the good news is we should know pretty early on whether or not we've got a shot at the cover here, because if Seattle jumps out to a 14-0 lead, we're pretty much toast. But again, I'm willing to take the points and see if my handicap's accurate on this one.
Oddly enough, that's part of my temptation here is I feel like if I'm gonna lose this, I'll be put out of my misery pretty early. So I won't have to really worry about it here with Tennessee, who's catching out 13.5 total, 39.5. All right, let's move on. Steelers, Bears. This is a pretty interesting matchup. Aaron Rodgers and the question about the non-throwing hand. Market is pretty steadily sat at 2.5 throughout the week. What do you make of this total, 44.5?
Yeah, it really doesn't matter to me if this is Rodgers or Mason Rudolph. Although given how Rodgers has owned the Bears in his career, perhaps I should hope that the old man starts the game. But, the Bears are 7-3. I'm just not a believer in them. If you look at 5 of the Bears' 7 wins, they've kind of required shocking finishes. You look at the blocked field goal in the closing seconds to beat the Raiders. I think a week after that, they fell on a botched handoff late in the game against the Commanders driving, and that sealed a 1-point win. They then scored in that long last-second touchdown pass in that incredible game against the Bengals, where their secondary just looked like they're trying to tackle as if they were fifth graders. They would have lost, in my opinion, by double digits to the Giants had Jackson Dart not been concussed. And then, of course, you got last week's long kickoff return, which set up the game-winning field goal against the Vikings. So, give credit where credit is due. In the 7 wins they have, and I think Will Hill had mentioned this earlier, that they're a plus 20 in the turnover department. But on the flip side, 5 of their 7 wins this year are by 5 points or less, and 3 of those are by 2 or less. Yeah. So, conversely, the Steelers' defense, the knock on them was they've got all these big names, but they really haven't played to their potential. I think they're getting a lot better on defense. They limited a high-powered Bengals offense, really kept them in check last week. And I think they're going to give Caleb Williams fits in this matchup. Opposite that, I think the Steelers' offense will be able to do enough to score against Chicago. Their defense doesn't do a whole lot to scare me. And I think that the Steelers are going to go into Chicago and leave with a W.
Jason Jarvis with us here. If you're driving around or watching, you can follow him up on X at JJarvisNFL, currently in first place in the Circa Friday Football Invitational, 10-1 in the best bets for the contest. You can find all of that content up at vsin.com. All right, let's hit a matchup that we have not really hit on a ton on this show. I think, Stormy does like a total here. Jags and Cardinals. What are we going to do with the Jacksonville Jaguars? I can't figure them out. Results all over the place. They're laying about 2.5 or a juice 3 with a total of 47.5 on the road against the Cardinals.
Yeah, and the Jags were my best bet last week on the Circa Friday Night Invitational against the Chargers, and that was a rare rocking chair winner. You don't often get those in the NFL. Quick personal plug. Not only is it 10 best bet winners, but it's 10 in a row. I had the heartbreaking 1-point loss in the first game of the year with Atlanta against Tampa, where the line was 2 in the contest, and they lost by 3. So I've rattled off 10 straight winners, hoping to make it 11 straight this week. The Jags ran the ball down the Chargers' throat, but they've got some issues at running back with Tootin and Etienne not being 100%. I think they're both going to play, but they are battling injuries. And, let's face it, the Jaguars are really a Jekyll and Hyde team all year long. The Cardinals' defense is a lot better than what we saw last week against the 49ers. Jacoby Brissett, he's been fantastic since he's been named their starter. Trey McBride, he's arguably the best tight end in the league this year. And what I found interesting, Brissett threw the ball 57 times last week and wasn't sacked once. Opposite that, the Jaguars defense has the 3rd fewest sacks in the league. So I just see this as a game where Brissett should have time to really pick apart the Jags. I think the Cardinals are better than their record indicates, and I think that they're going to win this game outright as well.
Like it. All right, let's go to our 4th one here. Now, you have to know that I'm an Indianapolis Colts fan before we get that out there, so maybe you change your answer depending on what you were thinking. But what do we make of Indianapolis' trip on the road against Kansas City? News yesterday that Daniel Jones pops up limited in practice with a calf injury. What do you think Kansas City has in store for them as a 3.5-point favorite at home against the Indianapolis Colts?
Yeah, this game is really intriguing, and the number's been going back and forth between 3 and 3.5. I saw a tweet from Evan Abrams earlier this week that the Chiefs are the 15th team since 1990 whose record's 5-5 or worse to be favored against a team with an 80% or better win percentage in the 11th game or later. Wow. And of those, 14-0 straight up and 12-0-2 ATS for the team with the lesser record. So, Patrick Mahomes has never been 500 or worse this late in the season in his career. They're on a 2-game losing streak. I'm not a fan of betting against a team coming off the bye. That's usually a strong suit for most teams. But I'm also not one who, and I apologize being that you're a Colts fan, but I really haven't been sold on this team as a juggernaut. I think they're a great story. Jones has been fantastic. Taylor's obviously one of the top 3 running backs in the league. But I really think we're going to see a focused and determined Chiefs team who knows this is as close to a must-win game as they've had all year. And I think that they're going to come out and play some of their best ball. I believe Isaiah Pacheco is going to come back. He's at least trending towards returning. That offers a really big change up at the running back position, versus having to rely strictly on Kareem Hunt. I have to believe we're going to see Andy Reid come up with some creativity in order to get Rice and Worthy and Brown and all those speed demons the ball in space. So I'd be shocked if the Chiefs don't come out of this game victorious. I understand that you're hesitant laying more than a field goal. Always dread that backdoor, irrelevant touchdown that goes from 10 to 7. You lose the game by a hook. Sure. But I think KC is going to win the game by more than a field goal. I kind of like playing them minus 180 money line as another good option. Perhaps either straight up or as part of a parlay with a team like the Niners, who I think are going to probably come out and roll on Monday night.
All right, so a couple of notes. Remember, Circa Friday Football Invitational. You can check out Jason Jarvis and the rest of the picks there. We do have note about 30 minutes ago or so. Pacheco is out, so that is an update for Kansas City.
Out. Right.
Yeah, but entirely, I think, wouldn't change your whole handicap. But we are up against it, Jason. Thank you very much as always, man, and good luck as always, okay?
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
J. Jarv, NFL Bets. Jason Jarvis with us here. First place in the Circa Friday Football Invitational. Coming up next, we have our second hour, and we do have a special guest, Zach Cohen, coming in 30 minutes. NBA Cup action. Can't wait to break it all down.